Okay, all right.
So, again, let me dive into it. I'll probably do my introductions better, so y'all hear better on the second run. All right, so my name is Anthony Coleman. I've been with India Realty for about 10 years. I've been a real estate agent for about 10 years. My primary focus has been single-family residential, flips, rehabs, rentals. I've sold hundreds of flip properties. I've sold hundreds of homes just from regular retail sellers. And I've helped lots of people to buy and sell homes. So I've helped with, my primary focus has been single family residential homes, upwards to fourplexes, duplexes, triplexes, and all of that. I've assisted with some multifamilies, that's 5 bedrooms, that's 5 single units and above before, but that's not my primary focus. My primary business is single family residential up to 4 units. All right. And I'm telling you, it's hundreds of properties. I've been in lots of different transactions, and our training today is about really a beginner's course in how to invest in single family residential properties for income, for wealth building, all of that. Okay. So to start off, let's see why to consider investing in real estate. Let me use my little notes page here so that I don't have to keep looking back at the board, knowing exactly which thing wrong. So the first part is the potential for appreciation. So this group, as I understand it, you got a solid understanding of placing your money in some investment opportunity and waiting for that appreciation. Well, when you invest in a single family or in a multifamily unit, over time, what you want is to beat the rate of inflation and increase the value of the dollars that you put in it. So that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why we're choosing real estate as an investment opportunity and to generate income. So you buy that property, then you rent it out to someone else who's either living there or getting some use out of it if it's land. And so you're doing that to generate income. Now, that income should be to support your lifestyle instead of your labor income supporting your lifestyle. A lot of what we're doing is moving our labor income out of from what it takes to live on into an asset that pays for your lifestyle, so that when you're earning income, you can turn that income over into value throughout your full lifetime. All right. And next, we're about building equity and towards long-term wealth. So the value that you create in holding your money in some other asset makes that money available to you either through earning rents, either through you can sell it at some point in the future, hopefully for a higher value. All of those things are the reason why you're putting that money. Let me give you an example. So my mother, like I said, lives right up the street from here. And there was a point when my brother and I wanted my mom to sell her house because of health and go ahead and move in with my brother. Well, she was like, no, I'm not gonna do that, baby. You know, I want my independence, healthy or not healthy. And, you know, for income, she tapped the value of her property and took loans out and kept us from being able to sell the house out, you know, and to move in with my brother. That helped her in her own independence. So for example, you don't own any, and if you don't own any assets, you have to go to your own labor to get more income to, in our case, to fight your kids off from forcing you to move in with them so that they can take care of you. She was able to take care of herself because she owned an asset that she tapped for money. All right. Also, tax benefits. There are lots of ways to work your tax benefits. One, in terms of depreciating the asset over time, reduces your tax liability. Or like my mother did, she created income for herself by tapping her the real estate that she owned and pulled out cash, which was not income.
It was equity.
It was equity. Yeah. And so she had more income that year without that borrowed income counting as income. Right. Then you have a sense of ownership and control. So you have a broad set, well, you're increasing your broad set of assets that you have under your management. So real estate is one of those things that you can touch, you can feel. Lots of people like to have it because they have a sense of control. Because if something happens, they go over to the house, they can look at the toilets, they can look at the asset itself and feel like this is something that you have a hand in, unlike stocks, for example. Sure, you'll get an opportunity to make votes or to vote on things around your stock purchases, but it doesn't matter, right? Because what are you voting on? Let's say you even had 20,000 shares in a multi-billion-dollar company, your vote isn't swaying the decisions of the management team. Or if you own crypto or whatever, your votes aren't swaying the direction of the business. When you own a personal asset like real estate, unless you're, invested through some larger means, you have direct control over what happens at that property. And I don't want to not allow you all to ask questions, but as we go through it, I have a question section at the end. So unless you got something pressing, you can raise your hands. I should have said that at the start, and then I can jump on those topics. So some of these things are just sort of highlights at this point, and we'll dig into the meat as we go. All right. So some myths about investing in real estate. That you need to be rich. You absolutely do not. This is one of the primary means that people become rich, is with starting with very, very little and investing a small portion of your assets into real estate, and then grow wealth over time. So you don't have to start rich. You don't have to start with a lot of money. It helps to start with good credit, but you don't even have to have that. Right? The ways to, so shifting your mind, and Mrs. Francis is one of the things that I love about that we met, is that she has demonstrated to this group how you can shift your mind, use your mind to come up with okay, first you have a problem. What do I do with my assets? Now, what are the things that you're working towards next to come up with the solution? So if you want to own real estate, fine. What are the things that you need to put together in place? Do you need to get a loan? Well, if you don't qualify for a loan, maybe you need a team of people who can bring the assets together so that you can own and control as a team that asset or a piece of real estate. Maybe you have a goal over time to be the single owner, but then you control a contract. So that through the control of that contract and the resale of a contract, then you can grow the income that you need and the credit that you need to become the full owner yourself. Now, we're going to talk about all of those things because really the basis to start here, but this is the power of investing in real estate. You don't have to start as a rich man, a rich woman, to really jump in, but you need a plan to get started. All right. That real estate is a get rich quick scheme. And listening to the internet, it sounds like a get rich quick scheme, and it's not. It's a lot of hard work. You can do it wrong. My first flip property I ever jumped out there and did on my own, I lost $60,000. $60,000 right off the bat. Yeah. And it was really a bigger loss than that because I went into it with a team of other people and I replaced their money out of my own money. So I gave them back $25,000 out of the deal where I took the brunt of the loss. All right. Now, I don't recommend that for you. If y'all jump in it as a group, it's a risk and y'all all share it together. Don't take that risk on by yourself. But I'm saying that there are lots of ways to make money and lots of ways to lose money, but it's not a get rich quick scheme. There are people who've made it fast and that's good, but that's probably not the route you're going to take. But you have to be diligent. It helps to have a coach. It helps to have a mentor. So it helps to mitigate some of the losses that you could potentially have. Now, with that said, not every mentor is a great mentor. I just, a good friend of mine, we were working together and I was mentoring her, but she wasn't moving at the speed that she wanted to move at. So she chose another mentor. She lost $10,000 on her first flip, right? So look, you'll get anxious, you want to jump out there and you do your thing, but just small steps, make smart decisions, have your numbers in order. That's not full protection. That's why I'm saying you got to really work with somebody who understands the business and is not trying to use your money to make money. So I was mentoring her for free. She went to another mentor who she was paying $1,000 a week, and it's lost 10,000. You understand? So, all right, it's valuable information, but I'd rather make the money on the deal with you rather than off you personally trading back and forth. Yeah. And with that said, I'm not here to sell myself. I'm not selling any services to you. I'm giving you information that you'll use to work with anybody that you're comfortable with. So I look, my ranking in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'll go in about the top 200, top 100 out of 40,000 agents is where I'm ranked in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in sales. So I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm going to do fine next year, do fine this year, right? But I'm saying this to say there's a smart way to do it and there's a fast way to do it and there's a responsible way to do it so that you earn money, okay? Next, that you need to be a DIY expert, that you need to be able to go in and fix toilets, hammer nails, and all that sort of stuff. One of my biggest clients, he doesn't know a thing about fixing this and that and whatever. And he sells, what? We're going to get up to selling, right now we do about 5 to 8 properties a month. The plan has been to get up to 25 properties a month that I will sell of his. He doesn't know a thing about fixing anything. But he's multi-millions in sales annually, right?
What is DIY?
Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Okay. But, the big deal is about understanding what your options are and how to move forward. All right. So types of real estate, I'm just going to hit this kind of real quick, but you got single family residential properties, which are the homes that we all live in, right? And those single family residential, those that are considered single family residential is 1 unit, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. That means that you can take an FHA loan and buy a fourplex, live in 1 unit, rent the other 3 units out. Or buy a duplex, live in 1 unit, rent the other unit out, right? So all of those qualify for the same type of loan product that you can buy the home that you want to live in for the rest of your life. That's important because that's another option and opportunity for, okay, how do I work out? How do I make this affordable? How can I make choices about where to put my labor income away so that I continue to build my own personal wealth? Now, the income that you make from those only other units may not, in this credit environment, may not pay up all of your portion, but it can make that home more affordable for you in terms of taking up some of your mortgage responsibility. And then when you think about that, you're growing your asset, you have control of an asset under your management in the whole scope of what you do for your plans for your income, all in one. And then down the road, after you've learned more, you can move out of that home, keep it, really make it income generating property, and then you move on to the next. Other ones, condominiums, I've sold those. Essentially with condominium, you only own the inside walls of that condominium. Everything on the outside is owned and managed by the condominium complex. They're good and bad. There's good and bad to that, right? It cuts down on your maintenance costs. Well, okay. Well, it depends on the cost of the HOA fee, right? But it could cut down. It does cut down on how often you're taking phone calls about it. Right. My first rental property that I purchased was a condo. Drove me nuts. I don't like personally managing properties, but the woman drove me nuts. But still, that's why I don't own any properties in this state anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just so I jumped in. She had me selling that thing faster than I thought I was gonna sell. Just to not to keep taking the phone calls. Let's see what else. Townhouses, very, very similar to owning condos. Many times in townhouses, though, you may own the responsibility for the outside of the unit too. Lots of townhomes no longer have an active HOA in place. So that means that if the roof goes bad, it's your total expense. The windows go bad, it's the front door. So with a condo, for example, versus a townhome. When I purchased my first condo, there was some rotting around my front door on the outside of their front door. I was able to call the HOA, nag them until they came out and fixed that. Right? It wasn't my responsibility because my responsibility was the inside four walls. And with that HOA, their responsibility was outside. Right. With a townhome, you tend to own more of that maintenance responsibility. So if you have a front yard area, the townhome HOA may cut that front yard area, and then you're responsible for what's inside the fence in the back. Right. If you have like that door trim that was rotted at my condo, well, the HOA wouldn't take that. That'd be your responsibility. But it's important to look at those HOA rules and guidelines before you make the purchase, just to know what kind of financial responsibility you'll have versus them. And then lastly, multifamilies. Now, in this, we're looking at multifamilies in terms of duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, but then even larger than those. Tons and tons of money in multifamily properties like apartment buildings and things like that. All right, so then we have investment strategies. And I'm gonna talk about a couple of things here first before I jump into. Oops. All right, let me know if there's something to do with it. First one is speculation. All right. So, strategies for your investment income. One of those strategies that you're employing. So we're going to talk about these, but does this fall in the speculation category for, okay. So speculation is when you've purchased an asset with the belief that in the future it's going to have a greater value than it does today, right? And so when you're speculating on an asset in real estate, maybe you're looking at buying a lot. Over time, you think that lot is in a neighborhood where you'd be able to sell it for a higher value in the future. I bought lots before with just the full intent of just to hold it for a certain amount of time because I believed I knew where the market was going. Another thing that so by comparison, my cryptocurrency is a speculative asset that you bought with the intent, with the belief that sometime in the future is going to be worth more. Right? Correct. So when you buy and hold, and that buy and hold meaning buying that property either for rent or to speculate that you bought that because you believe that sometime in the future it's going to be worth more money. Now, sometimes when you buy and hold, you also rent. So you believe it's going to be worth more in the future, but also while you're waiting, you're making income off the rents. Yeah. And we'll come back to why I'm breaking this down in this way in a little. So then next, we have forced appreciation. Oops. I apologize if I don't spell it right, but we're gonna say forced appreciation. All right. So forced appreciation is when you buy the asset, you put money into it to increase its value. It's like house flipping. So it's not speculative because you have an understanding of what the price would be if it were fully remodeled, if it looked perfect, if it, because and so you aren't guessing so much about the future value because you put the value into it to make it worth more money. Right. Next, you have income generation. And the income is rents. Rents. And then I'm going to put it up here. Compounding, where you have a system in place for when you generate income, you put the income back into the asset, and then it grows. Then even the new income that you put in the asset grows in value. So you can start with one rental property as you're making income on that rental property, or you increase its value through forced appreciation. You take that value and then buy a new property. And that compounds on the income that you generate. So not only is the asset itself improving in value, all the income or some portion of the income that you generated also grows. And then that is the way. So look, that's not get rich quick, but it's get rich way quicker than you were when you weren't pouring the assets, the income from the asset that you purchase back into it. So you won't, not only do you earn on what you own, you earn on what you generate. This is the power of real estate. You get access to all these different ways. You can compound, you can speculate, you can use forced appreciation, and you can generate income off of one asset, two assets, whatever those assets that you have. So sure, there are ways to do it with the other ones too, but I'm not here so much to talk about those. But with real estate, you have all of these ways to generate income, either through a buy and hold, house flipping, and then that last one, REITs, is in the stock market. So a REIT is a real estate investment trust, and so you don't want to control it yourself. You don't want the risk of making poor decisions about it. You can put your money into a real estate investment trust, and then that income is paid out to you for you to pay tax dollars on as income from the real estate investment trust. But they pay out a higher dividend than what's standard among most companies. So most companies, if they're paying a dividend, I think an S&P 500 would probably 1% to 2%. Most solid companies with long-term growth history, about 1% to 2%. In REITs, they're going to pay out much higher dividends, sometimes 5%, 6%, 8%. In a down market, those REITs can really get a pretty high in terms of what they pay. There's one that I'm forgetting the name of, but it's right now sitting at, I think, sitting about 8% in a dividend payout. Any questions? I know I talked a lot. I know I said I'm saving for the end, but
We are asset.
okay, got it. All right. The next one is about setting financial goals. This is the hard part of your plan. It's setting the goals necessary to get to where you want to go with your finances. All right. So the first part here, we'll just talk about down payment. After you have an idea of what you want to do, figuring out how much cash do you need to jump in and take control of an asset. And that depends on what you want to do. One area is to control, is my strategy to control the contract? Well, you may not need as much money. Is my goal here to actually take ownership of the property? That could be anywhere from 3.5%, upwards of 5, 10, 25%, as a portion of the overall cost of the property you may have to come out of pocket for. And then that's not even accounting for your closing costs. That could just be your down payment. Now, there are ways to get every deal done, right? For example, let's say you go, well, I'm in a lower income category. I want to buy an asset. I want to buy a piece of real estate, and I want to use a first-time home buyer program. Well, you can partner that first-time home buyer program with the purchase of a duplex, threeplex, or fourplex. And then they even pay, of course. So if you buy it in a certain neighborhood, like Bank of America, Chase, those large banks are required to, in certain neighborhoods, offer loan assistance, which could pay a portion or all of your down payment. So if you couple that with their down payment assistance, then you're buying a multiplex unit in a neighborhood that is considered underserved, then there's your opportunity to get into a property that you wouldn't otherwise have had the income, to take control. Then analyzing your own income and expenses, because you want your debt to income ratio to be low enough so that you can qualify for the loan. Yes.
That is fine. Okay, so give an example.
Yes. So let's put it in. Put that in a large, so hopefully you can see it. So this analyzing your income and expenses is about your debt to income ratio. So when they look at your debts, when I say I'm talking about whoever you go to get a loan. When your lender looks at your debts, they're looking at the debts that show on your credit report. You have 3 separate credit reports from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Those are the primary sources that they're going to go to for your 3 credit scores. Then they're going to choose one of those as their primary source to account for your debts. Your debts are what show up on your credit report. And those credit report debts are going to be a car loan, a credit card loan, another mortgage. Yes, or other personal debts that you have. So sometimes medical debts.
Yeah.
But the bank doesn't always have to count, depending on your loan program, your medical debts against you, even if they're in default. Now, it's not, depending on your loan product, they may not account for that. Certain loan products, they will. Like if you're going into it as an investment property, well, those banks are going to go, well, I'm going to count that. But if you're going into it as a primary home purchase, they may not account for that under an FHA program as a part of your debts. But those debts, let's say, I'm going to reduce this debt to income ratio to D DTI. And so let's say you got, and I'm gonna use just round numbers, $100 as your car. You got another $100 as some personal loan, right? It could be a credit card. Let's say a CC, and this is a car. That's a credit card, and then you got another $200 as some other personal debt, right? After you add all of those up, then you're gonna take and divide that by your income. And that percentage is your debt to income ratio that they account for. So let's say you have rent today. Rent doesn't count, right? Rent doesn't show up on your credit report, right? Let's say in the past, you've had an eviction. You can still qualify for a mortgage. So a lot of people get afraid about what they're going to find on a credit report. Your credit report is just information. You need to know what's on your credit report so that you have a path to resolve your problem so that you have a solution, right? Okay, so prayer. When we go and pray, we need to be specific about what we want. The credit report helps you to be specific about what you want, right? So one of those, let's say you got a $25,000 debt, and that accounts for in your debts $400 a month that you have to pay. Well, you're going to the Lord to pray for how to either increase your income so that you can pay that debt and have it accounted for in your whole debt to income ratio, or you're praying for how to wipe it off or to pay it off or whatever. But those people who hide from the information, you can't come up with a solution. So, for example, if I'm working with you as an agent, I'm going to ask you to go to my lender and get the full story about what would you need to do to get qualified for a loan. And then you're going to put a plan together and get you qualified, but you need that plan first. Those folks who don't take action, who don't come up with a plan and are afraid because they already know I saw it 2 years ago and it was bad. There's no way it's fixed itself in the past 2 years. You end up stuck and you don't have a strategy. But again, you take and divide by your income. Yeah, let's say it's $1,000 a month. So this is when they pull your credit report, it shows how much you are responsible to pay a month, not how much. They can also see that it's $30,000, $40,000, whatever the total debt is. But what they're looking at is monthly. What is your responsibility to pay on a monthly basis? And then after that ratio, you're looking at a 40% DTI.
Now, what's the norm?
Well, so to qualify,
Yeah.
most of the time, under 40%, you're gonna qualify. Under 40%. Well, I'm just saying in terms of qualify. Now, for FHA, that's the highest debt to income loan limits. I think that's at 45%, 46% is your debt to income ratio, right? But if you can maintain your debts under 40%, most loan products, you can qualify. So you have both your FICO score, which is a score for how well you have maintained and paid your debts in the past. So scores under 580. Look, you can get qualified with the score of 580. Right. I got lenders who can do the deal with a 580 credit score. It's gonna take some work. You know, well, we can get you across the finish line. But that indicates your past history with making payments on time. And that's the score that they're looking at. So you got FICO score and your DTI. Those put together, they're gonna come basically and say, well, I can probably get you qualified for a loan. Or they'll say, I can't. And to get your credit score up, you need to do X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so let's go back to the
Yeah.
FICO score. So
Yeah.
you said 580 is stretched,
580 stretch. But we can do
but 600, 600 or 620?
620. Well, in today's environment, because interest rates are up, you really want a 640.
Okay,
If you want to really ride, you don't have to do some special work. We want to be at a 640 on your credit score. But don't be afraid if you got less. It's nothing but information, right? It says to you, okay, well then maybe I can't use a bank to get this deal done. Maybe I have to partner with some friends to get this deal done.
of course.
Maybe, as a group, we can use we can use a cosigner, but if you partner in a group, you need one person in that group to have excellent credit so that you can work through. And then don't be afraid that you had to do business with more people to be able to invest. Because you go, oh man, when you mess with all these people, you're gonna lose money, or they're gonna cheat you, they're gonna rob you. How I started investing, a group of us got together, $25 a month. We put together, and then we met at the Dallas Library on a regular basis, reading investment books. And our $25 a month bought us a rental property. After 6 years of putting $25 a month plus investing in the stock market and then plus doing other investment ideas, and we bought our first property cash. And then, I could have said, well, we're putting $25 and not gonna get anywhere. Well, if you don't start, that's not gonna get anywhere either. Yeah, so you gotta start from something. So you start with what you have, with the strategy that you can implement. Okay.
How many was in your group?
Well, we started with 8. 2 people dropped out. Now we set our rules in a way so that if you drop out,
That's it.
that's our money.
That's
Now, you decide to stay in and stay out. We don't pay out until a particular time. So you got to set your rules up, do it by contract. You work with people that you trust. But I'm gonna tell you, even if you get cheated, you need the knowledge. You got to start something. So you can put your money in the stock market, and the stock market can fold. You understand? But if you don't start, you won't get the learning that you need to be able to be successful and allocate your money in the right way and learn what you need to learn and meet the people that you need to meet. For example, some of the guys out of that group, one guy right now, just because he can financially think his way through projects, he does multi-family deals. He's just started this as ICE business where they've accumulated something like $30 million in capital and putting this ICE business out. But that started from we needed to learn how to invest as a group, meeting at the library, reading a book together, and we had no knowledge to start with, putting $25 a month. Right? We're also invested in multifamily projects that are developed all across the country, from California to Missouri, Florida, and that's another $125 million set of projects that we're investing in.
All starting for $25.
Yeah, $25 a month. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, don't close your mind to the possibilities. I think Ms. Francis is in terms of what she teaches is there's opportunity, and then the real opportunity is in how open your mind is to what your choices might be. Okay. So what's important again is your FICO score and initially your DTI. Try to maintain your debt to income ratio below 40%. So pull your own credit reports. There's lots of free credit report sites. Pull it, see what your debt to income ratio is, see what your FICO scores are. And you have 3 FICO scores. Get all 3. Depending on the bank, they may use as their primary pull either TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. Many times they look at all 3, then they pull your median score. for your FICO score. And then determine your risk tolerance. Okay, so this is a difficult thing to do when you've never done much financially before in the past. You're not really sure how much risk you can tolerate. But my meter check today is, can I go to sleep without waking myself up all night wondering what's happening with you? Right? That's my meter check, today about risk. For example, I invest in single stocks. I buy, and I bought all sorts of names that I'm able to go to sleep with. I bought crypto. I put $40,000 in some stuff and during the time when everybody was saying crypto is a fraud, I've been able to go to sleep with it. If you can't go to sleep with it, that tells you something about your risk tolerance. A lot of people say, oh, are you low, medium, high risk tolerance, and you really don't even know what that means, right? If you're investing heavily, and then heavily is relative to your own income in a speculative asset, when I'm saying speculative, that it doesn't make any income that you can use to guess what the future value is. You're making a guess about where future prices are going to be. If you invest a large amount of your own income in a speculative asset, then your risk tolerance is high. Right. And so your ability to make decisions that you can sleep with on a regular basis is higher than other people. So my risk tolerance today is high, right? But I pair that with my education. But I did it. But I don't gamble, for example. I don't go to Vegas and gamble like that. But my wife says I gamble because I buy individual stocks and I make choices about what I think future value is going to be without having actual proof by making income on a regular basis. But then if you're low risk, you have all your money in the bank. Where if you've been with Mrs. Francis, you're losing money every single day.
Right.
But you can look at that money and it's going to be there, but you're low risk. Right? That's the low risk part. So I have people who have wanted to work with me. And so for example, this one client, she has $50,000 in the bank, and that's what she wants to use to buy an asset. She really wants to use 25 so she can still look at her other $25,000 in the bank, right? And every day you don't make a decision, the $50,000 is worth less money. So all our low risk people lose money every single day in terms of its buying power in the future.
She could still look at the 50,000. She just has to understand leverage and preservation of capital.
Yeah.
Because she could borrow against her own credit.
Right.
So,
But she won't do that either. Yeah, right. Right.
she could still see her 50.
Yeah, she can still see it though. They can still see it. Yeah. Right. So there are some tools that you can use to determine your risk tolerance online. They aren't all that great. They really are not very good. I'll say today that if depending on the assets that you purchased so far, that's going to really determine your risk tolerance. And by that, if we go back to where I was talking about, if you're speculating, you don't really have a good clue as to what the future will. You have a good clue. The market hasn't told you you're right or wrong yet. Then you're a higher risk than another person who is buying, let's say, rental properties, because they have an idea of what the value is going to be in the future because they're making income from it. So along the risk curve, that speculation versus income is going to tell you whether you're high risk in terms of your tolerance of risk, high, medium, or low. If you're low and you have all your money in the bank, and it's hard for you to see it when you see that money leave out of the bank to go into an asset, you're squeamish and you're low risk tolerance. Erase this. talked about that. Let's do this. This is a good spot for it because we were just kind of talking about that. All right. Risk versus risk versus reward. And this is okay. There's inverse relationship with your risk versus when I say reward, your income generated from that risk that you took. Here's what I mean. So if you are getting a high return, that tends to indicate that you're taking a higher risk. Now, there are ways to offset that, but so if you go into an asset and you think, well, my annual return on that asset is 20%, that indicates the risk that you're taking. So if anybody comes, let's say I come in and go, oh man, hey, we can buy this house and we're gonna make 40% this year. Ding, 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 ding. The risk is higher. The relationship between the rate, okay, why? Because if the return is there and it's that high, investors pour into it to buy it. Why is that opportunity available to you? Because of problems. Okay.
Well, I guess we need to know what's the norm.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So the norm. Let's look at those real quick. That's a good question. All right. So what is your return on a low risk asset at the bank? Negative.
Right.
You get the same amount of money next year in terms of dollars, but its buying power is less. So people for the security of seeing the same 50,000 next year that they had today are willing to receive less money in buying power. And so it's low risk. And so that's a negative return. Let's look at the next level. And that's going to be a bond. Okay, bond rates today are like 5%. Like 5%. And so that is also considered low risk, right? You barely beat inflation. Barely beat inflation with today's bond rates, but that's considered low risk.
S&P 500.
S&P 500.
That's 8%.
8% in a great market. Let's say 10. Which is good. This makes regular people rich. I'm telling you, if you look at my wife's returns, because my wife isn't like me, my wife's returns on the S&P 500 over a long period of time, not taking her money out, not looking at it every day, not worrying about where to move it back and forth and doing all this sort of crazy stuff, it makes you a lot of money. This is a fantastic system and a rate of return for your own personal wealth building, right? But this is about a low to moderate risk.
But you could lose your equity and your
Yes.
principal.
Yes.
In the bond and in the bank, you won't lose.
Exactly. But you tend to, if you're looking at the S&P 500 and if you're investing on a regular basis over a long period of time, and when I say over a long period of time, my wife's worked 25 years. I've never known her ever in my entire life. We've been together. It'll be 29 years this year. Never known her not to work. Never known her not to take some portion of her money and invest. So over a long period of time, S&P 500 investing. We've had great market times and then, not so well, but just keeping on investing on a regular basis, it'll make you a lot of money. But that's about low to moderate, right in this S&P 500 range. Then, if we go up the risk curve, individual stocks. So we're going up the risk curve.
So Tesla.
Well, Tesla's kick button. I hate to use Tesla. I don't want to use NVIDIA. I don't want to use Tesla. Only because, it's $10,000 in NVIDIA, you're a multimillionaire.
Yes.
Over that same 30-year period of time, my wife invested, it's $3-4 million what it's worth. Its returns in NVIDIA beat. No, it floundered the S&P 500, but it actually beat Bitcoin. NVIDIA's returns beat Bitcoin.
For that period of time.
For that period of time,
Right.
It beat Bitcoin, not over its total life. So, but Tesla's another one of those names, you understand? So if you can find a super name in stocks, you can beat 15% by a lot. But and then you go, well, then why is that so risky? Because what if you can find SoundHound, which only this year started to raise? I invested in SoundHound at $2. Yeah, right.
Me too.
Yes. Well, we kick butt now, but for
That's
a long period of time, SoundHound was not kicking butt. Exactly. But you have to choose good names. How do you know that you chose a good name? You know understand what I'm saying? So as you go up the risk curve and you're looking for NVIDIA, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of stocks that are not Tesla or NVIDIA. Your choices. See? But the risk goes up, and to play that risk curve, you need knowledge. And so how do you get over the hump in that risk reward trade-off is to be more knowledgeable. Let's say we're talking real estate and we're investing in a flip. Who's your real estate agent? Did you get a good price when you purchased it? Do you have a team that is able to manage and repair the property at the cost that you estimate? If you are the person running the team, what business do you have running the team? So my first property, the reason I lost $60,000 is I bought the property, I bought it at a good price, $40,000, right? Then I started rehabbing it, and I rehabbed it out of order. We did all this work on the inside, then I found out I need to do the foundation. So we lifted the foundation, tore up all the stuff inside. Then I tried to fix that, and then so it was my lack of skill that caused the loss, right? But with your, if you have the skill or the team with skill, that offsets the risk because you're knowledgeable, you have a knowledgeable team, you have bought at the right price, all that stuff can move that risk reward trade-off, which is inverse, right? I was supposed to make 40% on that property in a 6-month period of time, which is a huge rate of return. It's even higher than 40% because that APR is counted over the year. But that'll be a different discussion. But you offset that by knowledge. You don't have to have all the knowledge, but your team or you have to have the knowledge to make sure that you can offset the risk associated with high rate of return. Okay, that makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right, next is building your team, right? So obviously, well, look, I say you need a real estate agent. There are lots of investors who don't do it with a real estate agent, their own personal real estate agent, and they go out and they make the deal personally with the homeowner, right? Or they make the deal with an agent who's representing a seller. So you don't absolutely have to have a real estate agent, but it helps for the knowledge of the truth and the values for what that asset can sell for. So for example, if you're using Zillow, Realtor, and all these things for what the value of that asset is, it's not accurate. Because you want real sales and someone who has access to MLS can tell you what the real sales data are so that you know what you can sell that asset for. Also, what realtors help you with is, okay, I can see pictures, but what's the truth of what my asset needs to look like to get the full market value? Real estate agents who've been inside of hundreds of houses can help to tell you, well, yeah, it looks good on the picture, but the truth of what you need is X, Y, and Z. Or if you are buying a home that you're going to rent, not over, so you can go, well, you know what? I saw this house in Highland Park. It had all these great features and it rented for $5,000 a month. I'm gonna stick all those same features in my house in East Dallas and then rent mine for $5,000 a month because I bought it for it, and that won't work. The real estate agent helps you to make those decisions about how to improve your property so that you can meet market value, not arbitrary values that you pulled off of Zillow, which are sometimes inaccurate. Next is a mortgage broker or a lender. This is just where to go to get the money. That's what that's about. And many times a realtor can help you with the person that you can go to lend, and because they've had past experience with them, to help them make lending choices and to get your plan together. Your very first place, I think before you go to a realtor, it ought to be to a lender, unless you have the money on hand yourself to do the whole deal without a lender. They're more important than the real estate agent, because you want to know your budget. And your budget needs to fit your budget. Not okay, I saw on the internet, these guys said you need X amount of dollars. No, you need the amount of money for your project in your area that you want to invest in. That makes sense. Next being a property inspector. Look, until you have a lot of practice, until you have a good team put together, I inspect every property. I got a lot of practice doing it, and I inspect every property, even if it's $35,000. 25 grand. Some of the properties I bought been $25,000. And I send an inspector in there to inspect. Right. So that 25 grand that I paid for the properties ought to be enough to make sure that we're good. But out of practice, just to cover myself, I send an inspector. All right. Then the last one, okay, well, you don't really need this last one. A real estate attorney. It depends on how much work you're doing. And to get access to a real estate attorney, you can actually use the title company that you close your deal with for access to a real estate attorney. So you may not need your own personal real estate attorney, but there are ways to get access to. And then next is finding the right property. Look, okay, I got a lot of things sort of listed here in terms of, okay, is that property in a good school district? It's not super important unless you're trying to get some top of market rents. Right. I work backwards to come up with my number. I say, okay, so when it comes to real estate, I'm more risk averse, and you can do this your own way. So lots of people earn 2 to 5% on rental income annually on their rental properties, and that is a conservative return. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are right in this range, 2 to 5%. That compares you to the S&P 500. You beat okay, just now I'm forgetting
you take less risk.
You take less risk,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time you're beating the
bond.
You're beating the bond rate, but also in the S&P stocks payout. You're beating dividend rates from the S&P 500. by getting 2 to 5% in real estate. You have direct control over that real estate, right? I like a minimum of 15%.
So how do you achieve?
I invest in the hood, tow down properties, and that's what. But nobody else. But that's high risk.
Right.
It's high risk.
So you invest when nobody else wants to.
I invest where nobody else wants to go. I don't like all that competition driving up the price. The reason that the rates are 2 to 5% is because everybody wants to get there. Every mom and pop, it's the standard. You know, but and it's lower down the risk term.
Sort of just use the force.
Force appreciation system.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I go here, I'm paying the rehab before I can put anybody in there. You go in here, many times very little rehab, and you can start to rent right off the bat, right? And you're pretty secure about who you're renting to. But the people I'm renting to, and they've already paid off my properties on Section 8, they've been there 5, 6 years. You understand? But that's me, right? And I'm good with that. Now, at that same time, because I'm telling you a good story, there's another woman who lived in the property. She got nervous about where her income was going to come from and did not go back and renew her Section 8 voucher. Stayed in my property for 8 months. Yeah, I had to sell it while she was in it. Because she's going to stay in it for longer. I don't know how long. It's not in this state, right? You see what I mean? But I was making so much money, it just offset itself. And those are the risks that I'm trying to offset by getting 15%.
Okay, so she didn't pay rent for those 8 months?
No. And it was during COVID, so I couldn't put her out.
Oh, sure.
I couldn't. But if not for that return.
Wait, so you just sold an investment property to another investor?
Yes.
What else? What did you ask to leave?
Yes.
You.
All right. But every look, the risk return. But look, I'm at 15%. They're at 2 to 5%.
No.
You see, I mean, you know, their thought process they're like, if I can get that income, they're at 2 to 5%. I'm the one at 15%.
Right.
I'm the one who wants 15%. I don't know what they want.
I get it, but we get it too, but we
Yeah.
don't just get it traditionally. So we get.
Sure. Yeah, no. But look, but here's the great part about going here, right? You get a better tenant.
Correct.
That woman, when she was staying there, we found that she had 7 kids. 7 kids hard on the house.
Yes.
It's hard on the house. She had a lot of repairs, but I was still offset. You know what I mean? At the end,
15%, it didn't out of nowhere.
it matters when it's your money. It matters. You're like, man, I want my 15%. But I made money regardless. Yeah, right. So, and also because I used forced appreciation, when I sold, I had a higher value asset than when starting.
Okay, so you used forced appreciation while she was in the house.
Well, before she moved in, I made a lot of repairs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because we had to meet Section 8 standard to rent and wasn't ready for it.
Got it.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's see.
You said, schools don't matter. When you said
Well,
amenity.
Sure. Well, okay. So schools matter, amenities matter, crime rates matter, but it matters. Like for me,
Mhm.
right? I'm good with fast food, not great amenities.
Okay.
Crime rate is high. I mean, this neighborhood. So my nephew lives there. He's like, man, I know I'm running these stop signs, but you know, over here, people don't stop unless there's really somebody coming. It's like, man, what are you doing? Well, you better drive right when I'm in the car with you. You know what I mean? But because of the neighborhood, it's just certain, it just is what it is. But I'm also about serving the underserved because I used to live. You see what I mean? So, and I'm fine with that. Right. And that's where I want to be. Those people I want to serve, but then there's some offsets in it. And now, as you're making choices, for example, when we look at development plans, then we're looking at an area like Bishop Arts.
Like here.
Like here.
Right.
Right? Yeah, but it depends on how far along are you aware of what the developments are that are coming. I remember Spring Avenue when, I had family over here and I didn't want to walk on Spring Avenue. It's a lot different neighborhood than it was when I was a kid. I used to cash my checks over at one spot. I just come over these, or down the back way over there and I just cash my check and get out. You know, it's different, but it's a lot different than it was. A lot. But if you have a line of sight on what those improvements are, you can buy when it's cheap. And sit on it, make income until the improvements come, which also drives up your asset value. It also drives up your rent. Yes, sir.
I know it's probably some question, but okay, like, so with a house in a bad environment, or do they force you to buy more wholesale, or can you still do like a percentage for a house that's like tore down?
Yeah, you can do a percent. Yeah, no, absolutely. And by that, I think you mean, can you get a loan on it and then do 3.5%?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, it depends on the type of loan. So you're not going to get an FHA loan on the house that's tore down, right? You have to have the right loan product for it. You can go conventional, but then some conventional loans want the house to be at some minimum standard before they'll lend on it. Right. And then there are other types of private loans that because of a relationship with you, they'll still do the loan on a property that's in poor condition. Right. Now, all of these properties I'm buying cash, and they're in bad shape. But so we get them there though. Yeah, we get them there. Yeah.
Ms. Francis was saying you use hard money.
Hard money.
Yeah.
Can absolutely use hard money. Sometimes with hard money, they want you to either have had a previous relationship, done some other deals before. They're going to look at you, not just your credit score. They may not even be really concerned with your credit score. They may be more concerned about because they're lending directly to you, which will improve your odds of getting qualified. Yeah. No, there are all kinds of ways to put a deal together. So somebody with money, y'all talk. But I've some people I know got money, and when we put the deal together, I make 50% because I manage the flip from start to finish, and they put all the money up. Just don't close your mind to what the possibilities are. When you grow in your own personal experience, let's say you partnered with people on a deal, maybe it didn't go well, but it taught you how to then go ask and raise money. Personally, being able to raise money is one of the most valuable skills that you can have in life, period.
Say that one more time.
Yeah.
Key.
Learning how to raise money is one of the most valuable skills that you can ever have. Don't just close your mind to the only way I get money is go to a bank.
Right. And a little pitch.
Yeah. And part of that pitch is
The sound plan.
in a sound plan. Yeah.
You have to have a sound.
Right. So look, these are important when you're looking for the best house and the best neighborhood and the highest rents that you can get. But remember, as you go up, as you move down as if the risk is low, your returns also match your risk, but you also go sleep at night. Man, when you got to go visit, you're not, man, do I have to carry my gun? You know what I mean? That's what, yeah, right. I'm okay with that. Yeah, right. But you may not be. If you're not okay with that, it's fine. And then there are ways to even buy in those areas at higher rates of return. Right.
It just depends.
It just depends. But don't close your mind to the possibility. So as I say these things, these are kind of overall, because there are bad neighborhoods in Plano where they have great schools and you can get higher margins. And depending on how you get the money, then that improves your terms of like the interest rates. That improves your return. If your interest rates are high and your return is going to be low, do you offset it with cash? Do you all that sort of stuff? All right. And then we're talking about calculating your return on your investment. Now, when we're dealing with real estate, I really like a cash on cash return instead of an overall return on investment, because I don't want you taking the $500,000 house value and then wondering, how much money did I make on the $500,000 house when you use the loan and you put up $45,000. So what is your cash on cash return over what is the return on the full asset? Because you won't get a clear picture. You want the cash out of your pocket to make money. How much money did you make on your cash on cash return? And unless you're online, this is probably really small, hard for you to see. All right. So let's say, and we're going to do this like on an annual basis. Let's say, and this is really how it is. So I'm gonna put some numbers up there. People make pretty standardly right around $300 to $500 a month renting a property. And so most people, when they find that number out, because they were thinking, what if they rent for $2,000, I'm gonna make $1,800. Most folks are making in the range of $300, $500 a month after your expenses, after your the mortgage, after all of that. There are months where you go negative. There are years where you go negative. With the return of 300 to 500, somebody bust a pipe, eat your money up for 2-3 months. You see?
That's true.
Yeah, it could eat your money, it's gone.
There's ways to go around where you don't come out of your pocket, right?
So
Insurance.
it's out of your pocket unless you have insurance. Or, okay, so I want my rental property to run like a business, that it can operate without me having to put my new labor money into it. So I hold reserves for what I think a year's care for the house would be. So let's say I bought the money out of my pocket. Let's say the money out of my pocket is $45,000, right? All in, and I have a loan maybe, and let's say my loan is $200,000 over here. That's my loan, but the cash out of my pocket is $45,000. And let's say after I did my calculations based on the house's condition, I hold back $3,000 so that this house, let's see, 123 Any Street, can operate on its own without asking me for no more money. Right. So I have this as my reserves. That's important, because if you don't have it, then you will get tired of owning it.
Permission,
Yes.
did you make the reserve amount based on the percentage?
I actually have a full calculator that I use.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not going to show the calculator here today, but there's a full calculator that I use to come up with how much my reserves are. In this case, I'm just making it simple.
Gotcha.
And then what I also do while I have the reserves, in terms of what I count is cash flow. There's a difference. There's income and then there's cash flow. My cash flow that I consider mine is different from the whole, let's say we're making $500 after your normal sets of expenses are satisfied. Oops. And we're making $500 cash. From that, that's not cash flow to me yet, because I'm accounting for other reserves that I pull out of it.
Okay.
Because I'm writing upside down. Other reserves that I pull out of that. So after those reserves that I pull out of it, maybe I'm actually cash flowing under my calculation $200 a month. Now that cash flow, I can feel confident that I can spend that money on my own expenses without that business needing to ask me for any more money. Because let's say you bought Apple Apple don't call you up and ask you for no more money. I want my 123 any street to operate without asking me for no more money. Now, it can ask out of reserves, because that's set aside for that business. But you don't ask me for a mortgage payment. Don't ask, you know what I'm saying? Don't ask me to fix a toilet. I'm not, I want that to operate like its own individual business. And then I can account for that separate amount, which I have a full calculator that I use to get to that number. Because I've been in the other position, and that's why that lady stressed me out, and I was paying out of my pocket, and I sold way too early. What was so much value in the deal?
But the market, did that too, based on an emergency.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I let her create the emergency. This one here though, they kept that. That was different, but yeah, no, that woman is a special case.
Yeah.
If it weren't in COVID, I would survive that,
Okay.
no problem. But, yeah. But I'm talking about the first rental property I ever bought. That lady gets,
Yeah,
she
but
gets
it's called
back.
eviction. That's
Right, yeah. She didn't do enough to get evicted. She just bothered me a lot. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Yeah, well, one day I had to come over to the property. She called the police on me. Oh my gosh, look out. Police officer met me at the door. Okay, but I'm just saying, look, there's a lot of money in it, but in the daily operation of it, there's all kinds of ups and downs, you know.
Can you address one thing?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you said you manage the property.
Yes,
Is it good for you to have management company? I know your cash flow would decrease.
yes, I recommend a management company.
Okay.
Yeah, but lots of people start off without a management company. It's fine. So, for example, Dave Ramsey,
Yeah.
and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. There's another guy, Robert Kiyosaki.
Uh-huh.
They recommend like your first ones to manage it yourself, so that you know how to choose a management company.
Okay. Is there software where we could, if we do an analysis of a property, where we'll know what it really costs to fix? So when we're dealing with contracts, how do we tell?
So, if you don't mind, I'll save the contract discussion to the end,
Okay.
because it's its own unique
Yeah.
thing. This is so.
Then just try-
Look, those prices aren't all the same. Your management of it is another issue in terms of the cost. But we'll go there. Yes, sir.
Would you recommend taking that slow route like that and letting it accumulate, or just taking like an old house, turning it close to that 200,000 per house?
That's what I do.
Sound like that.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And it's just flip it like that, it gonna be done with it.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But remember, I go and see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm already.
All right.
He said, I know around the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that ROI, if you don't calculate it right going in, that ROI can evaporate like you never did the work in the start. But your return, you got to calculate it on the income out of your pocket. Your cash on cash return is the ROI that we're really talking about.
And so,
Cash on cash return. Because yes, you took a $200,000 loan, but the truth is your labor income out of your pocket that you put into it is your cost to close. It's your down payment, and it's your rehab cost. And so how much money did you make on that money? Just like as if you would have stuck your money in Tesla stock, you don't look at your return on all the Tesla shares. You look at your return on the money that you. So this is real quick on financing options. I'm not going to hit this in great detail, but you have a conventional loan, which is in terms of buying an investment property. You're going to look to pay down payment wise out of pocket somewhere around 5% out of pocket in terms of your down payment there. It requires higher credit scores, but your interest rates are better than a conventional loan. If you're looking to use a conventional loan for an investment purchase, because let's say you you own another property, and you told the bank that you are buying this property just for investment, then your out of pocket could be as high as 20-25% on a conventional loan to purchase property. That's not bad. See, when we're looking at our decisions, if you go, man, the 25% down, it's the wrong thought process. It's your cash on cash return is where you ought to be thinking. How much money, if I put this money into the property, can I make? What's my return on the money? Not that, well, I just, because now remember, you're balancing between your cash that you can see in the bank making you no money versus your cash and the asset making you money. How much money is it making? Right. So one of my top clients, he's always in cash. He's always in need of cash, right? But he has almost all his money working, flipping deals. His money is at work. He does not like, he said, man, I'd rather leave my money in a property than to put it in the bank because my returns are better. Let's say you don't sell it till next year. In the market at one point, we had 12% return. The market at that point he was making negative money. And his cash in the bank, he doesn't keep any cash in the bank if you can help. And I'm not trying to tell you to start operating that way. He is an expert operating the way that he operates. But it took him time to get there. But if you think, man, that tells you your risk tolerance when you go, what? I got to put $45,000 down, and you didn't even assess your cash on cash return. Your risk tolerance is like, I need to be on that lower end because I can't sleep on. See, my first purchase of a real estate property, I spent $23,000, couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. It was the most money I've spent in one single time, and I owned another house. We put $1,500, but it was the most money I ever spent in one time, one check. Right, I could not sleep for 2 weeks straight. All right, took me another $3,000 to make it operational. It's nothing today. I would do them deals all day long, every day of the week, if I had deals like that. Right, but that tells you something about how you feel about risk. If your stomach is overturning because you got, it's one thing if you don't have it, but if you have it, you're like, well, I'd rather have it in the bank than I would earning a higher interest rate relative to the S&P 500, relative to my other investment choices. Okay. Then I say, okay, it's all in your strategy. People say, well, you want to have a fixed rate loan. Well, maybe. It depends on your strategy. So a person's buying a 4.5 acre lot. It's not a lot, it has a house on the lot, but they're buying it with an adjustable rate mortgage that they expect to refinance out in the following year into a different product. Maybe they'll go to a fixed rate product. I don't know what they're going to go to with, but they're going to use that money, which is short-term money, to buy and control the asset for some period of time until they either roll over into another product, maybe they intend to flip it. I don't know their overall strategy. Yes.
Could you address too how interest rates affect the amount of loan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
So people can kind of understand.
Right. You know what? Do a couple of. I'm gonna do a couple of comparisons. That's very good term.
Because you're financing it.
Yes.
All financing not the same.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that I get my numbers together. Let's do. All right. We're gonna do a comparison of a $240,000 loan. Back a couple of years ago, when interest rates were lower, let's say you could get 3.5% on a loan. Some people were getting lower, some people were getting a bit higher. But the mortgage, now this is the mortgage without taxes and insurance. $1,079 a month on a $240,000 loan at a 3.5% interest rate. That's big. That was why there were so many people in the market at the time. You could buy so much more house, but also it cost you so much more, so much less. So today,
At 200 and. It's a fixed rate?
that's a fixed rate, 240. That, and now look, this is before taxes and insurance. And if you're buying with an FHA loan, that's before your mortgage insurance premium is factored into it. You start factoring those into it, that number really blows up. So that balloons up to $1,680 a month if you have a 7.5% interest rate. Yeah. So another $600 a month it costs you in financing costs. And it blows up over the 30-year period of time. Okay, let me do this number here to show you how much that costs you if you pay it out over 30 years. Okay, so your 30-year loan on a $240,000 loan costs you $388,440 over 30 years. All right. Now let's do that same calculus on $604,000 over a 30-year period of time is what it cost you at 7.5%. Well, it is what it is. Let's say that your cousin asks you to borrow money from you, and he'll pay it back to you over 30 years. Right. Look, I understand the risk that they're taking. They're giving you $240,000 you're gonna pay, because you have a promise to pay over 30 years. And honestly, without government backing, none of this would happen.
Right.
None of us get loans. That's wiped out. Right. You have to come to the table with cash or so much cash that no one's taking that risk. No one's definitely gonna do it for you for 30 years. So it's okay. This is opportunity though. Right. Don't look at this and go, man, that's like, God, there's too much money. Okay, what is your cash on cash return? Because you want your rental property or whatever property to operate like a business without digging back into your pocket. So if you can get that asset to operate on its own without going into your pocket again, and you have your expected return, so what? It matters. It matters what the interest rate is, because here's the reason why it matters. Because how much cash you got to get out of come out of your pocket to offset all the costs, all the expenses for you to make money. That's where it matters. Now, you see, again, well, what's your plan? What do you want the outcome to be? Work backwards into the numbers to make your cash on cash return work for your strategy. Yes, sir.
My last question.
Yeah.
I would wanna do the long process like that, but, okay. How long, from your experience, have you had, sit on a house? Be my question. I know it's different
For which strategy? So that's the thing.
now for that strategy, for your strategy, the way you like, just, okay, 240, how long? If I try to flip it wholesale, basically.
Oh, well, see, look, if you're talking about, okay, so that we're on the same page. Yeah, and I'm gonna say this out loud just in case people didn't hear it. You asked, how long do you need to sit on the property to make your return? If you're talking about a flip, and then you use the term wholesale, which is different from a flip. Wholesale means taking control of the contract, taking control of a property using a contract, then flipping the contract. So you never ever took you didn't own the property. What you owned was a contract for purchase, and then you sold the contract. You could do that in days. You can do that, and you have the right list of buyers behind you. It doesn't take any time at all. If you know a property that you've made an agreement with the owner to sell, you write the contract, and then you flip it to the actual buyer, and you make profit tomorrow. Okay. Now, if you're talking about a buy to flip, depends on what kind of work you have to put into it. Depends on the area. If you're looking for an FHA loan, you have to have owned it for at least 90 days. And then if you owned it for at least 90 days, you put it under contract for sale, that's going to take typically 30 to 45 days to close. So you're normally in that deal, I say normally. If you don't know how to, if you need work flipping it, you could. When I first did a deal that I could operate successfully on my own, I held it for 6 months. So, yeah.
And what was your cash on cash return percentage?
Yeah, so on those deals,
Uh-huh.
I've been in the 20, 30, and 40% range.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So now, other investors that I work with like to turn their properties in a month and a half.
Mm.
And that's great. Oh my goodness. That means he can turn his money over multiple times a year, increasing his return, and is able to compound on that same money that he spent on the property. He's back in the market in the next quarter, right? So he can get two in a great opportunity. He can turn his money 3 times in a year. I can give you an example. Walmart makes something like 1.5%, 2% on toilet paper, but they turn over toilet paper 360 days a year.
That's correct.
It's crazy the compounding that they can make on that money because of velocity, the speed in which you turn over your money.
See.
Yeah. Good. So financing is important, but it's important to get you in the deal. And you work backwards after you know what it will cost to then come up with what your ROI would be given the terms. Look, don't avoid buying because you see these rates. If your rental property operates like a business, your renters pay the $600,000 a year, and you make the spread. You know, now, and then if you hit those assets to pay for your own home, yeah, your home costs whatever it costs, but those assets, not your labor, paid for those. That's where we're trying to get to. Okay. So I hit some quick recommended resources for help. I can send this out later so you can have the websites to use to assist with resources to where to find properties, how to find and research in terms of your background, legal concerns, all that sort of thing. These are some places that you can go to learn more information. And then now we're open for a little Q&A. But before we dive deep into Q&A, I said that I would talk about contract, working with contract. All right. Everybody hates contractors, including me. If we have any contractors on the line, I'm sorry, but y'all cheats.
They are.
All right. All right, there are a couple of levels to this contract, to this contract question. All right. If you want a cheap contractor, it's either because their labor is cheap. And if their labor is cheap, they probably need more instruction from you. So if you're not good at giving instruction, you will make the outcome weaker. You are part of the problem. I give you an example. A client of mine asked me for a contract. I said, this contractor's specialty is fencing. But look, he speaks Spanish and he sounds like he speaks English, but his English isn't very good. So if you give him instructions, he probably didn't understand, but he would sound like he understood. All right, so cool. So she brings him out. She gives him fences and windows. I said his specialty is fences, but he's so cheap. She pays him she gives him $2,400 for the material for the windows and the fence, 108 feet of fencing. Board on board, 8-foot privacy fence. The cost of the materials alone on the fence by itself is $3,600. Right. But she said, well, he told me he could do it for $2,400. That's what you thought he didn't. You have a gap between his labor is cheap. The material isn't cheap. He didn't appropriately price it before he went to the store. So, and then you go, well, the weakness is the contractor. Now he's got to do his part. Well, he can't do his part. Even, I don't care what agreement he made, he can't come out of pocket and go broke putting up your fence. What he will do is not show back up the next day, exactly what he did. He just won't. So if you want cheap labor, you better have a skill in this thing too, right? You either have to be able to price the materials cheaper, or you have to know that he's not going to be able to finish on the money that I thought I was getting out of this thing so cheap. That's why she was so quick to come out of pocket. But
And then you need to know the scope of work.
you need to know the scope of work. Well, then we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that next. So, okay, the deal that I lost money on, I was basically GCing. I was the general contractor, but I didn't know the order of operation. So I didn't know that after I fix these walls and then I fix the foundation, so tear up everything that I fixed before and then have to spend and get it all, not all, but you know what I mean, I have to get it all redone because I was the weak link in the chain trying to get cheap labor. Right? And many times that we don't know, what we don't know is that when we're paying for a contractor and we're trying to get cheap labor, are we the weak link or are they the weak link? Because they just want money.
Right.
Which is fine.
But you want work quality.
But you want quality work. Now, the truth is a contractor who charges you what we say is a lot is worth it. Because you go to sleep at night, you don't have to call and go, well, okay. Another example. Paid a contractor to put in new kitchen counters, right? And I wanted the cabinets that I wanted up to the ceiling. But I bought the 36-inch cabinet. So that when he put it on the ceiling, the gap between the cabinet counter and the deal was like way up here. But he did them right. He did them how I asked him to do it. But it was wrong because I have another contractor who I pay more would have told me that you need a distance of 42 inches from the cabinet countertop to that. So if I put that way up there, it's going to look stupid. And nobody's gonna want to buy it because you need an 8-foot tall guy to come in and get stuff out. You know what I mean? So a contractor who charges you more doesn't mean they're trying to cheat you. I know you want to get it, you want to get a great price, but you want that contractor according to your need. Now, if you don't need very much, you better be ready to answer all the questions as your project goes to his face. Like, for example, a full rehab on the house. They better do that in the right order. And if you're the one coordinating their activities, you better make sure you know the right order to make those repairs. Because while they have the sheetrock tore out, you better get to the electrical and the plumbing and the foundation before that, and the roof and the certain, if you don't work those in order, you're gonna say, well, you didn't tell me. So, well, you didn't pay me to be the expert. You paid me for cheap labor.
Correct.
But, and okay, so people have a tendency of when things go bad, who is the expert other than me, put that thing on. And when it's your money and it's your $45,000 that you wanted to stay in the bank and be safe and secure, well, then, you know, it better be you. So in the investing game, it's your research, it's your money, it's your butt on the line. And I don't care how much you chase down a broke contractor and sue him, he won't pay you. Because I've sued the contractor before, I ain't get no money out of it. I won. I don't know where he is now. You know what I mean? I have no idea where he is. But he was poor to start with. Where was he gonna come up with the $20,000 that I needed for the gap? Still made money on the deal. So, but you understand what I'm saying though? So it's not all the contractors. We're a part of that. Giving your contractor clear instructions is not obvious to start with. So I can draw out a full plan of a full home rehab. And now from my experiences, I know to mark certain things in certain places, because unless I'm willing to pay up, and when I do pay up, they eat into my margins, and then I don't make money on the back end. Yeah, so, you know, or if you buy a deal, have super margins on it, then you can pay for as expensive a contractors. A really, really good contract is worth his weight in gold, I promise you. You want
put an escrow in place for your budget for the contractor, like.
I don't, okay, now I understand what you mean. Yes, I do. 20%.
Oh, so you put
Yeah,
20.
I put 20. So whatever I budget, only because of my past mistakes, I account for another 20%. So yeah, overrun. Yeah. Also, look, if you're buying a house in disrepair, there's always something wrong that you have no idea about. Yeah, so I do 20% both for my own lack of estimate and also stuff that's hidden.
That's
Yeah. Okay, so if I say it's $100,000 rehab, I got $20,000 left to the side that I budget for the work. And I hope to beat that 100. But if I don't, you know, my money, my profit is estimated off the 120, not off the 100.
For example, when you were caught off guard, maybe by doing the rehab, right?
Yes.
With asbestos or mold or something, and then you had to go back. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just give us that.
Okay, so one with mold. All right. So I was only a real estate agent on this deal.
Okay.
Sold a house. What it was, investor paid $375. We sold it for $520. Only changed the floors. Now during inspections, they found that that there was a water leak under the house. Now we fixed the water leak under the house. After they moved in, they said that the house had black mold from the previous water leak. But when we fixed the water leak, we also put a vapor barrier in, all this other stuff. But they said that we had black mold. They sued for $1.2 million. Name me in the suit because I was the agent, not because I had any knowledge of it, not because I touched the house other than to sell it, but I'm named. Right? We spent $20,000 in mold inspections and found out that it's mold, but it's the same mold that you can get in any house, not black mold. And so the lawsuit was we just thrown out. Right? Yeah, it was dismissed.
But you still had to come up.
But we still had to come out $20,000 for the cost of 2 separate mold inspections. Yeah. But You know what? Honestly, mold is everywhere in nature. It's right now, if you put a mold kit out,
They can sue for it, say it's some type of
oh, black mold.
black hole.
Black mold is,
Black
is
mold,
a, is a particular type of mold that's known for making people sick. That type of mold, if you were aware of it. Now, if we were aware and were hiding it, that's one thing. Now, they did their full inspection. We did ours, put the vapor barrier down, all that sort of stuff. There was mold, but it was mold that is active right now in this room. It's everywhere in nature. Yeah, if this room sits under a certain temperature, cold enough for a long period of time, it's gonna be full of mold. Others. Another house I bought in Missouri, did a full inspection, but I didn't put a camera in the sewer line.
Mhm.
Well, after the tenants moved in, the water, the sewer was backing up into the toilets and in the tub.
Gotcha.
Well, had to replace the full sewer line all the way out to the street. Now, luckily, it was $5,800 for that replacement. Now, and I had the reserves already set aside, to take care of that so that business could operate on its own. But so it really depends on the property, how much it costs. I'll put a camera in the sewer line so I know the condition of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. You're always gonna find something in the attic, like that first property. I didn't think that there was a foundation issue, but that was because I had no experience. Also because it was $40,000 my first flip, I didn't have an inspector go through the house, so I didn't know we had foundation issues. And that foundation issue, because I worked it out of order, not that it was expensive, because I worked it out of order, it cost me a lot of money, it cost me a loss.
How much you think it's like needed to like do your first flip successful, like cash wise?
Yeah, I don't know until I know the property that you're doing. Yeah, so it really depends. I've flipped properties where I just bought it and resold it and made profit on it because I knew what it was worth and they did.
Mhm.
You see, because they could have sold it for the same amount, but I knew what it was worth and the seller did. So when I bought it, put it right back on the market. Agent called, hey, you just put that back. It looks just like I did before. Well,
Is it okay to like take out a loan on a house and then still make the numbers beat that loan and make you something in your pocket all together?
If I understand you correctly, you say, well, sure. So if you buy property with a loan, your whole goal is to beat what you estimated on paper.
So like a quick flip, though, still.
But so, for example, let me give you the example. So he buys the property, he takes a line of credit, which is a loan,
Yes.
$30,000. But then when you sell it, you make an extra $60,000
Yes.
because again, they're gonna usually like that.
So yes.
Yes.
So now you got two parts to that, right?
Okay,
You
right,
got to have the right type of loan
right,
because there's some loans
right.
that
Okay.
you're going to have a prepayment penalty.
Correct.
You may need to own the home for a couple of years before you have an offset. Many of those prepayment penalties are like 3%. So it's like having another agent on the deal, to get over that 3% hump of a prepayment penalty because they want to make so much money on the deal. But if you do a hard money loan, they're going to get that money up front by charging points. 2 to 3. If your first time, they can beat you up on points.
Yeah.
Then they're going to charge you 1% a month. But your monthly payment may only be that interest payment. So for the 6-8 month time period, you're only paying interest on that loan. But you got the opportunity to flip it without coming out a lot of money in your pocket. Also, let's say you're going after a loan to rehab and flip a property. They may want to see you get so much progress on the property before they give you cash. That means you got to come out of your own pocket for the rehab. So for example, I did one, it cost us $113,000 or so for the rehab. The thing's mess. So let's say I put in $15,000 of cash out of my pocket for the rehab. Then they called out their inspector. And then they gave me back. Well, I'd asked for 18, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So this is me. The $15,000 cash out of my pocket. I say, here's how much progress we made. They send out an inspector, inspect. Sometimes they just take pictures, depending on your relationship. And then they gave me cash to operate 18, because that's what I asked for. And I asked for the same 15 I put in.
If you believe in yourself.
Sure, yeah, I always play, but don't make me right. I've been wrong before. But I need education, right? So look,
See,
I could pay $30,000 for some online course, right? Or I could lose money on the deal and learn too. But at least I got it in the deal. You know, we're going. I've never paid for, other than my real estate license, a course, but I paid through losses. You know what I'm saying?
It says, please re-show resource screen.
yeah, please re-show the resources.
Oh, sure, yes.
Question.
Okay.
I'm not check.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Would the amount, not the amount, the type of loan that you take out would be determined by what you plan on doing with that property.
That's right.
If you're doing a rental property, you don't want a tiered loan to purchase that property.
Maybe.
Okay,
So sure. So I have a client who's refinancing a rental property right now. Right? And they only had that loan for 2 years. Right? Got a great rate. At this point, they're refinancing, and because of the state of the property when they initially bought it, they're actually even cashing out on this next new loan that they are in. That was a tiered product that was going to increase their rate, was going to balloon their rate up.
right.
So now they've gone out and gotten a new financing for it to flip into a new loan.
For a lower rate.
It's lower than what it would have been if they would have stayed in the
Gotcha.
in the rate increase. So
Right.
yes, but the rate isn't low, you know. But they're also able to cash out too.
Okay.
Yeah. So the answer to should I, should not, depends on the deal. Right. So I like maybe until we see your financial condition, to see a house we're trying to buy, what type of return you'd like to make, and then I back into what it takes to get there.
Contact information.
Yes.
The audience.
All right. So, you know what? It would be better on there with.
Yeah, but it's in there. Oh, yeah, we got. Okay.
Let's see.
Thank you.
I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna do a stop screen share, and then
That's
I'm
fine.
going to put up.
So while Anthony is doing that, we want to thank him, audience, and show some emojis in the area. He was good. Thank you, much, Anthony.
You're very welcome.
Next, I want you to understand today is the last day to register for the 90-day savings challenge. This savings challenge may help you with your real estate goals. Okay, so remember, all a part of our campaign to help you build assets is based on you starting, look what he said, he started with $25. It's not how you start, but how you what? Finish. Okay, so we're starting with the savings challenge. Today's the last day. Monday, May the 3rd, I'm going to do one monthly meeting via Zoom to give you the strategies, but our goal is to help you move from a savings to investing to crypto. So that's the order, but we got to do 90-day of the savings because like he said, some people had their money in the bank and they looked at it versus being able to do what? Leverage.
That's right.
And move that money to what? Assets. So this is why we're starting with the 90-day savings challenge. So go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, so my phone number is 214-226-5871. 214-226-5871. My email address is anccsc@gmail.com. And you got it on the board too, hopefully you can see it. anccsc@gmail.com. I also have a YouTube page. I'm gonna send that out.
Please.
Yeah, and it's where I look, honestly, doing the camera without a group, I'm embarrassed. So I use AI to generate my voice on my YouTube page. So, if it sounds kind of mechanical, it's because I'm embarrassed in front of the camera without a room full of people. But I do, what I have on my YouTube page are trainings about small topics. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Give him a hand.
Welcome.
Thank you all for attending. We appreciate you guys for attending. And so look for on our website, www.zwhjcoc for the savings challenge. Thank you and have a good one.